Why is communication the one essential skill that you must master? Stick around. We are going to talk with Sairan Aqrawi in just a minute, and she is going to tell us all about her thoughts on that topic. But first, we are the Communicate Great podcast. I am your host, Traci Poe. And in our podcast, we want to equip the listeners, the viewers with strategies, tips, tricks to help level up their communication. Savron, thank you so much for coming on. I just appreciate that you're here. We had our one-on-one conversation, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago, and I really enjoyed that talk. So why don't you let our audience know who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into your tips.
Great. Thank you, Tracy, for having me at your amazing platform. My name is Sairan Aqrawi. I'm an engineer by degree. I've been in engineering and technology world for over 30 years. That's telling you I'm old. And my side business, it's in business strategist. So I used to be a transition expert. I was helping women who has engineering degree to fulfill and make their American dream come true. I've done that for 5 years. On 2023, I decided to change my niche, whatever you want to call it, my expertise to business strategist. So right now I help midlife women and men, generally women, to find and monetize their side business or their hidden talent, the skills or the passion that they really love to do, but they have a day job and they be busy in their life. I kind of helping them to monetize that passion and thrive and bring it to the surface in order to reach their best version of themselves. Yeah.
I know that what you do is so important, and here is why. Because when somebody is looking to make that transition, clarity is huge just to help them kind of figure out what is their passion, and help them narrow down some things and then figure out how to take that passion and turn it into something that can create an income for them. So I know that that is so important because I know a number of women really want to make a change, but they don't know how, or maybe they're fearful of it. So thank you for doing what you do to help other people. Okay, now you say that, and of course I'm a communication person, so I 100% agree with you, but let's get into this for our audience. You say that the skill of communication is essential to master. So why don't you kind of go into your thoughts on that and then maybe some strategies around communication that would help the audience level up what they're doing with those skills?
Yes. Thank you for the question. And I have to agree with you 100%. Communication skills, it's so essential at every job. And I will talk about it, for example, at my current job as an engineer. If you are not a good communicator, you can have all kind of skills and credential and master and PhD degree. Your LinkedIn might have 10 titles of all the credential that you have. But if you are not a good communicator at work, you are having no value to add to the department. And we normally say it in engineering school, when you speak or you train other engineers, pretend as a good communicator that your audience are not all engineers. Not everyone is good in math, right? Not everyone is master the math and the technology. So they said to be a great communicator as an engineer, you have to have the ability and the skills to explain what you're trying to explain to a high schooler. So that's what is bring communication such an important things, because if I come to a room and I imagine or I treat everyone as an engineer, I'm going to lose my ability to teach them what I'm trying to teach, because I'm not a good communicator, because I assume everyone is good at math. And that's, Tracy, applied to every other discipline. If you are a lawyer, if you are a teacher, if you are a doctor, if you are in finance, you have to have that communication skill master. You kind of have to have the black belt in it, because without that, people will not approach you for service. People will not ask you to help them. You can have the degree, nothing wrong with that. You can read the book, But if you are not able to explain your business, we said in business world, if you are not able to explain your business in one sentence, you just cluttering, you just having that noise around you, and that's going to confuse people about the type of the business you are doing. And I always go back to the communication because I feel like, for example, when I go to staff meeting or a big meeting, have so many engineers, procurement, finance people, clients, stakeholder, you will see that always there is someone who just like to speak for the heck of speaking, right? They just being loud, they talk nonsense, and they be all around their degree, what they have done, their accomplishment. At the end, you kind of like, what he was trying to communicate with us? Nothing. It was just noise, right? And you will find out the person who speak the less, who give you the input at the end, he's the great communicator because he summarize, he give you the gist of the meeting, the purpose of the meeting in one or two lines. So going back to the sense of communication, that doesn't mean you have to be a great speaker and you speak nonstop. Mostly it's about being a good listener. Great speaker are great listener because when they enter the room, they try as a good communicator, they try to listen to everyone, pause, give it a time, give it a thought, digest what's being said, then you can add your two sentence. You are not a good communicator if you hijack the room and you be the only speaker. People will not connect with you.
I have to say that you've already just kind of unloaded a lot of really critical information, so I love that. So let me start by saying, 1, I am one of those people who is not good at math. I'm not good at math. But 2, I like that you talk about giving your audience speaking at a level where they can understand and not assuming that everyone has the same knowledge that you have and is at the same place that you are. And so when I work with people on public speaking, that's one of the things we talk about if they're putting a presentation together is think about your audience. Who is your audience? You're not going to be going to a group of 5-year-olds, let's say, and speaking using college terminology. And so that is massively important to think about your audience and to again not just assume, not think that they are where you are because there's probably somebody in the audience who is not. So the next point that I like that you talked about was when you do that type of thing, you can really be a little offsetting and maybe uh, create this space between you and your audience where you feel they feel that you're not as approachable. So that was good as well. And then listening, that's one of my favorite topics to talk about is using powerful and effective listening skills. So, okay, all of that was great. What else do you have?
Yeah, and I believe also, and this is again come with aging. I was not the same when I was in my 20 and 30 because as a younger engineer, I was building my resume, I was taking different jobs, and I was trying to build my career around being good at tech. But when I hit my 50, I realized to be a good communicator also, Tracy, is very important not to lose my entire energy on non-effective event happen in my life, meaning being a good communicator also equal to not to respond or to reply to a lot of things happening in front of you. There's a lot of things happen that people triggers and they want to test you and they bring you to their misery platform. They become like rude to you. They belittle, they say something harsh in order to see how you're going to communicate with that comment. Don't give them that power. I think when I age, I learned this that not to losing my energy to reply and react to many things. It's not even worth it because you're losing the energy. Second, by you replying to that low level comment, you are going to the same level and you don't want to do that. That's going to jeopardize your reputation as a professional person. So communication, it's very unique. It can be tricky sometimes. people might call you introvert or extrovert according to their definition. That's you should not seek their definition for you as a communicator. I believe if you are precise and concise in your statement, and I learned that also from my engineering school, you have to be like briefly, you can explain the whole things in 2 lines. You don't have to go and use some difficult word that's you cannot even find it on a dictionary just to prove, oh, I'm smart. I know this terminology because I read 100 soul book, right? If you are precise and concise, if the person in front of you are able to understand what you're trying to say, and smart and wise people, they will even understand what is between the line. So you say something, but you're trying to say something else in between. So you don't have to go a long way just in order to say something can be said in 3 words. So that's something important in communication as well.
It it is. Well, actually, you gave a couple of really good things there. You're doing these in pairs, dropping the good stuff. So let's talk about the first thing that you talked about when you said if somebody gives you a negative message, and I'm paraphrasing you, if somebody delivers a negative message to you, you don't have to respond to go to their level. And that again is something that's very, very huge, especially in this country right now because it seems that there are people who just like you said, they're trying to get you going. They're trying to get you riled up and worked up. And so if you allow yourself and trust me, this is a hard one to do. And even though I've been in the field for years, I still struggle with it, honestly. And I think a lot of people do. But if somebody, it depends on who it is, but if somebody says a negative thing and I just let it roll off my back, and then they say another negative thing and it's getting a little harder, but I let it roll off my back, and then they say that and they just keep going and going until boom, you're like, let's go. So I love that you say that, and that is a skill within this skill set of communication that is very, very important to learn to master. And so I don't know if you have any tips on really how you handle it or how you see other people handle it. Let's go to that in a second. But then you talked about being precise and concise. And that is also huge. I tell you, in college, I worked for some attorneys. And I, at that time, was one of those, if you ask me, is the sky blue? I'm gonna look at it, I'm gonna say, "Well, there are shades of blue, but then there's some white, and then there's some gray, and then and it was really hard for me to just say, "Yep, sky's blue today," right? And so it is one of those another skill set within this bigger skill set to learn how to pull out the information that's not really necessary and just focus on the essential information. I will also say this. Here's a caveat. Let's say this is a personal, you're at home, you're at a restaurant with friends, family. It is a casual time. I think in that situation, there's a little more leeway in giving some more of that fluff, if that makes sense, just to keep that conversation flowing. But I think at work, especially, or even at home or at a restaurant when maybe time is critical or of the essence, then maybe that's the time to kind of cool down if there's a decision to be made or you're discussing something that happened and you stick to the facts and that kind of thing. So I like that be concise. So, okay. All right. So what else do you have for us?
Yeah, I think when you said if I have any tips about when it's really hard to hold back, not to reply back, because human being, as you know, we are all default by defending ourselves, right? If I get a harsh email, someone is accusing me by doing something that I haven't done. By default, as a professional human being, I have to respond, right? I'm not an angel. I gotta say something. And again, it's got better with me by practice and with aging. I mean, when we are young, we are all over the place. We're trying be always right. I'm always fighting in the meeting. It's my point. I'm smarter than Tracy. Let me tell her my degree is better than her. But when you hit your midlife, you kind of find like, okay, I know my value. I'm not seeking validation. My communication skill has to be precise and concise in a professional way that if Tracy's still not liking what I'm saying, it's totally fine. I'm not in a business here to make you like me. I'm in a business here to be correct on my design. So as an engineer, if I provide you a design that absolutely correct per the manual, per the book, and you still don't like it, that's on you. I'm following the manual. I'm following the fact. I'm following the equation. So my business here not to make you like me. My business here to be correct as an engineer. And the tip for that, I find out, and it's hard. Again, it take practice. It take a lot of training. And I done it. I think I become better after during pandemic. I was introduced to Stoic. So I started reading a lot of book for Robert Greene and Ryan Holiday. They talk about, Stoicism and all of that. And it's the emotional intelligence, how to react to things. Kind of I learned how to pause more. Like if someone said something that's not correct, my intent is, like they react like, let me say something. I try to pause and I try to have some silent, period. Like asking myself a question, okay, let me see what is triggered here. Is he or she is trying to bring me to the same battle? If I answer in a rude way, is that gonna add value to me? Is that gonna affect the class or the level where I am? If I see myself in certain level, I should not go lower. I should go higher, right? So I always ask myself inside, like my inner thinking and inner talk. I said, okay, should I answer? And if I answer, which way I should answer to still look and sound professional? And always, always the result is the less I say, the powerful I will sound. The less I say. Because the person who belittle you, the person who try to put you in a situation uncomfortable, they want the same level of negativity. They want the same level of energy. When you hit it with the negative sort of energy, you kind of taking their weapon away and the power back to you. Because
Mhm.
you can say 10 minutes root statement, and if your response is just a solid look, and if you ask them to repeat what they said, and then you answer in a fewer word, much fewer word, trust me, you are the winner because now the power back in your lap because you refuse to go to that negative route. And now they are even more worried now to be rude again because they saw that the response is like a solid wall. They know they cannot, right, affect you in a negative way. So it takes time and practice.
And that leads back to what you were saying when you talked about you just reserve that energy when someone comes at you, because what's going to happen if you do respond in that negative, rude way? You are right. That's going to impact your reputation. And it's also going to keep it going, right? Then you're just tennis, you're just volleying that ball back and forth, and so they were rude, then you're rude. Now they're gonna level up the rudeness, and then you're gonna level up, and I call this like the negative downward spiral, and it is something that in the end, you're 100% right. Save your energy.
Take your energy.
Save your energy.
Important things, and it does change even with the phases of your life. I'm in love with Dr. Maya Angelou, and I always look at her clips and her interview. You can even see it in someone like Dr. Maya Angelou's interview when she was younger. She tended to speak faster, laughing. She was using her hands, and she was reacting to some interviewer by correcting them and getting mad. When she got older, if you look at her late interview with Oprah, she really take her time to answer your question. Same thing with Robert Greene, same thing with Les Brown, people who master the communication, they are writer, they are speaker. You look at someone like Les Brown who who've been speaking for 50 years. He used to crack a jokes and answer you quick. Now he kind of take his time because his communication, such in a black belt stages, he knows in his age, I think he's 80 now. I hope I'm not saying older, maybe late 70. He know that anything come out of his mouth, it's valuable. And
Mm,
very careful what is coming out of his mouth. He said himself, he said, uh, this is with the minute you open your mouth, you kind of telling the universe who you are.
mm,
I mean, there is some incident. I've been in certain situation, professional and personal. To be honest with you, I rather just to keep quiet and pretend like I don't speak English. That's much better. That served me well because I knew by me adding even one word, it doesn't add any value, and I'm not gaining any value by attending that event. And I many event when I enter, if I see that it's not the right event for me, I just thank the host and I say, thank you for inviting me. I have something else. I gotta go. I just
mhm,
move quietly, I leave professionally, not in a rude way, because I see that I realize that there is no communication bridges, there is no communication or rapport or connection here between me and the other audience. And you see it in at work, you see it in personal life. You might get invited to engagement or a wedding or like friends gathering or something, and you find out that your energy is not matching the group. And in this age, I mean, you can tell, right? You can tell that this is not the place that you will have joy or you're going to learn anything. You can just simply just thanks the person who invite you and just leave. So it takes practice and it's get better by age.
right. I like that you said something about the black belt level or something like that. You said black belt something, and I really liked that. And you are so right. You know when you're around somebody who's just gonna open their mouth and speak wisdom to you. And that is huge. And you're right. Those people have or are pretty close to having mastered that communication skill, that essential skill that we've been talking about.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and I see it in, and especially writer, like someone like I said, Robert Greene. I mean, when you ask them the question, they are very careful how to answer that question because they are public figures. They have books. People are, paying them a lot of money for an interview and speaking at their stage. So what we can learn from them to be brief in our answer. We don't have to answer with the Washington Post articles. That doesn't make us be smart, right? That make us look noisy and having just noise around us. So the less you say, the more powerful you are.
that I really like that. That's an area I need to work on. All right, do you have anything else for us?
And I think as a communicator, regardless of, again, what background you have, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be a teacher. If you learn how to be clear and if you let others, like the audience or the person you're talking with, give them space to explain what their point is. Don't make assumption. Renee Brown said, when you lack of data, you're making assumption. It's true. If I don't have any data about you or your platform, I'm making assumption about what Tracy doing in her podcast. So first you have to collect the data or the fact before you come and make any judgment or any statement about anybody else. But communication, it's very important in everything and even in personal life. Like if you, I raised two kids, they are in their 20 now. And I used to, that's why I said this get better in aging. I used to, when they become teenage, I always tell them, in your age, I haven't done that. You should listen to me. I didn't have that ability or wisdom to let them first vent what they are upset about. They are teenage. They go through phases. They have hormones messed up, right?
Right.
Them. Don't make assumption they are wrong just because they are 13. They are going through things. I've been 13 myself, so I know how hard it is to go through high school in order to have my own identity. So I learned that first, before you become a great, calling yourself a great communicator, let the other person speak up. Let them tell you what's bothering them, what they like to do, what's the path they want, like the clarity about their idea. Then ask them very briefly, okay, I have one question to you. Do you want just for me to listen to what you said, or you want my advice or my mentoring one sense? Don't just make assumption they are here so you can advise them, because that might irritate some people. So I have friends, they come to me, they said, I'm just here to vent. I know it's my mistake. I know it's all on me, but can you just listen to me? Great. So I just go and have a coffee and let my friends speak up. Sometimes they are clear. They said, can I tell you what's happened at work or what's happened with my husband? Can you tell me what you think if you are that's different. Then you give them your 2 cents. So as long, like you said at the beginning, you said it, the clarity is very important. If there is a clarity, your communication bridges, it's very clear.
One of the things that I've really enjoyed about this podcast is that you keep bringing up these skill sets within the bigger skill set, and there are things that I train people on, like giving and receiving feedback, negative assumptions, and so I wanna talk about that for a second. You are dead on when you say, "Don't assume what somebody is thinking or feeling," because those inerrant or wrong assumptions can be highly damaging to reputations, to relationships, to a number of things. And so, one of the things that I like to tell people is when you have that thought, ask, wait, is that an assumption? Am I basing this on something I don't know or something I factually know? Because you don't want to go to that assumption that could be negative and could really create a problem where there was not a problem to begin with. It's just that you had that assumption, and so you thought there was a problem, and the other person's going, "Whoa, what wait, what?"
Ye
Right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need to judge. And I'll give you a simple example. Let's say if I'm heading to work and I want to grab a coffee from Starbucks Coffee, and I come across this cashier who's younger than me, and it happened to be not rude, but a little bit on the dry side responding to me. And if I am really not wise and not mature, I'm gonna say, "Oh, he is rude. He's racist. Oh, he hates me. He don't like people who look like me or whatever." I just make assumption, and I already make a story about him being racist. He's a white guy. He hate anyone who's not white. He's rude, whatever. Maybe in reality, I mean, I don't know this cashier. Maybe I'm saying in fact, maybe right before I come across him at the counter, he receive a call from his family doctor or his ex, specialist saying that only child have cancer. I mean, he just received such a hard news, painful news about his own son. And now I am here as a spoiled woman. I want him to laugh in my face. How? He just received a very difficult phone call while he's working, and he's supposed to continue working to afford the, insurance or whatever to pay for his child.
Right.
I make assumption he's rude and he's racist. Then what I'm done by this, first I create a problem, like you said, from nothing. Then I
Mhm.
own the entire day for myself. I'm going to go to work and I'm going to tell everyone in the office that I have this guy at the Starbucks coffee. He was rude. He was racist, not knowing exactly what was going on really in his life. I don't know what's happened at that moment. And again, that take practice, because as human being, we have that uh, by default, we want to defend ourselves. We just need to slow down and take one steps in the back and
Yeah.
give people some space, for God's sake. Just
Yes.
give them space. Let them breathe. Don't be all over their head, assuming they are good and bad. You are not a judge. I love to write, so I write a lot of code in my Instagram. I have a quote I wrote like 2 years ago. I said, don't judge, judge is a profession, not an act. Meaning, like, if you are not a judge, don't judge. You don't judge by practice, right? You are not Judge Judy. I mean, you are not judge. Don't judge people because that judgment, it's most of the time, Tracy, it's very harsh. We don't know what's people going through. No,
Yes.
we don't know nothing, right? We just make assumption.
Exactly, exactly. So, again, you're hitting on something that I train people on, and that not only are you dealing with those negative, false assumptions, right, that you don't know, but there's something called perception checking, and so there's direct perception checking and indirect perception checking. And let's say that you've been going to the same Starbucks and the same guy is working there. And usually he's very, very friendly. And in the moment where he's not on this particular day, you can stop and say, wait a minute. This is the guy that always smiles at me. And today he's not. And so you can think things through instead of just immediately having that false assumption.
Yeah.
So you can look at a bigger picture. And if it's the first time you've ever seen him, you're right. You don't know. You don't know what's going on in his day. And so grace and mercy are something that this world is lacking in. So I really like that you said, you could go back to work and say, man, this guy was rude and he was racist and all of the things. And you might not, well, you didn't know in that case, but then let's say a coworker goes there and automatically has the wall up, sees the guy, and your coworker is now going to be being rude or maybe not even on purpose to the guy and it's just going to, it's just grace, mercy, think that maybe your assumption might be wrong.
Yes. And we don't need to analysis everything we see, right? We are not in a science lab here.
Exactly.
Human being. I mean, you have up and down in everyone. You have good days, you have bad days. You have days that you love to go to work. You have days you just want to call sick, right? How you want to go to work. We are human beings, right? We are, a collection of emotion and event happening in our life, childhood, teenage, and adulthood. We don't have to assume that everyone know where we're coming from. Oh, better to treat me better. Did they see my LinkedIn? Did they see what I work? I'm in this government, building, doing, making the cares? If you're not a good person, if you are not able to leave an impact and a positive effect on others, no one care what's your LinkedIn or your title is. You are not providing any service to anyone. And I think,
Yes.
Tracy, that the only purpose that we are all in this world is to help each others. That's the only purpose is.
Yes.
Purpose is not for me to make a lot of money and not giving you a hand. The purpose is not
Right.
need to have the best title, but when you need a mentor or your daughter need a mentor, I tell you, I cannot even give her 10 minutes. Why? Who am I? I mean, we are a human being. We need to give each other's help. It's a coexisting world. We need to help each others in order to get along and make this world a better place to live.
I 1000% agree with that. Thank you. Okay, so do you have, before we wrap it up, do you have anything else that you can think of? You've already dropped some great, great stuff, but do you have anything else to share before we wrap it up?
Yes, I have a couple of things. I would say in my business, when people ask to start anything, a business, a project, a book, a new career, what do they need? I simplified in three pillars. And again, as much as I want to um, forget that I'm engineer, my engineering metaphor and thinking keep popping up in my business. So I always provide them with three pillars. Very simple. You always remember it. When you build a building, a house or a building, you need a foundation, you need the building, and you need the roof.
Yes.
Anything with business, with communication, with any career, anything you do, a project, you need clarity. So, clarity is your foundation of the house. Without a strong clarity, your foundation it's broken and the whole building will collapse. So, the very first pillar is clarity. Then, after clarity, which is the foundation of the house, come the window and the wall, right? The building. That's the action. You need to take action if you want to start a project, you clear what the project is. start doing action, start doing A, B, C in order to build that building. Then the consistency is the roof. Without consistency, you don't have a roof to protect your project. So, foundation, building, roof, it's clarity, action, and consistency. And that applies to communication. If you want to be a great communicator, again, if you want to have a black belt in your communicator, first you have to be clear. Second, you have to take action by saying your word clearly in a slow mode. You have to be clear what's coming out of your mouth in few words, precise and concise. And the last thing is in communication to be consistent. Don't say something today and the next day, oh, I changed my mind. I don't think human beings change in 48 hours unless something dramatic.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly.
And the second things that I would like to for the sake of your audience and whoever will mention your name, Tracy, or your platform, I'm willing to give 15 minutes complimentary session, clarity session for their LinkedIn if they want to level up their LinkedIn, they want to appeal as a executive presence, that they need promotion or they need to look, you know, scale their page in LinkedIn. I can give them 15 minutes strategy call, or if they want to start a side business and they want a better or clear communication and clarity on their business, I can give them also 15 minutes in addition to that in their Instagram page by, just contacting me and mentioning your name.
That is very, very generous. Thank you for that, for doing that for our audience. Sairan, we will put your information in the notes for the podcast episode so that if our audience wants to reach out, they absolutely can. But before I do that, do you just want to just say a way that they can find you or get in touch?
Yeah, they can reach me at my LinkedIn. I'm there at Sairan Aqrawi, or if they want to reach me for their business, I'm on Instagram. These are the only two platforms I have.
I love it. Okay. I can't tell you how much I've truly enjoyed our conversation because you were just hitting it, one after another, like, yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. Yes, yes, yes. So I just really enjoyed the conversation with you. And thank you so much for coming on. And we will see everyone next time. Bye.